Planning your next trip and not sure where to go? Hearing horror stories about overcrowded tourist destinations, high prices, and low availability? We've got a better idea. Today we're starting our exploration of underrated destinations to consider for your next trip. A foodie paradise meets soulful history in today's destination.
Welcome to the Travel More podcast.
Each episode, we share custom itineraries, travel hacks, expert advice, and even stories of our past travel failures to help you level up your travel game.
I'm Shelly, a lover of plans, itineraries, and cheap flights. I'm an expert deal finder with one eye always on the budget.
And I'm Bruce, the improviser, ready to pick up where plans fail to turn letdowns into unexpected trip favorites. We're here to bust through barriers that stop you from making your travel dreams a reality.
So book that flight, buy the tickets, and say hello to your next adventure.
This is the Travel More Podcast. Welcome back to the Travel More Podcast.
Welcome.
This week, we are diving into, not really a mini-series, but Shelly and I have talked about highlighting...
We love a good series.
Yeah.
We put everything into a series.
I guess so. You know, when we sit and think about, what should we talk about? I think we often just kind of come up with
like
related,
clumps.
Clumps.
That doesn't sound that appetizing, I guess, but like little like pairings. Like what else do you call it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, just related groups of things. But anyway, this one we like to highlight underrated destinations.
Yeah, unlike Paris, Christmas in Paris, and things like that. Those are obviously like everyone wants to go to Paris for Christmas, but we like to like talk about places that you may not think of for a variety of reasons, just to talk about why that's kind of the best to go to underrated destinations. One, it's usually cheaper.
Yeah, it's definitely right because there's not a huge buzz, which means there's a market surrounded on it.
Exactly. There's also usually a lot more availability. You can get a lot more for less. And then it's not usually as crowded. So even if you can't go on shoulder season, you don't have to like put up with like crazy crowds. And you can find some really cool stuff. And it just can be a cool way to explore. You know, it's like you don't have to go to these like super, super remote destinations to kind of get the same idea that you would get in those of like a kind of off the beaten path. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to when we talked about just getting out there and trying to travel more. So doing local travel or getting in the habit of making a part of your month or your season. You know, it doesn't have to be every week, but that you're trying to do something, get out and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. So to kick off this mini-series thing, which is not going to be like one after another. We're just going to dip into it every once in a while.
When we get an idea, we're going to share something.
To kick it off, we have to start with my favorite of all underrated destinations, which is my hometown of Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee. Not Memphis, Egypt.
Not Memphis, Egypt. That's
Shelley's
not quite
not from Egypt.
No, and that's not quite a hidden destination either.
Not really, no.
So Memphis,
they both have pyramids, but
they do. So that's actually a funny part, which growing up there, I honestly didn't even understand why we had so many like Egyptian callbacks. Like there's like an odd number of Egyptian things in Memphis.
Wait, so you didn't like learn about your local history in school? Well, we went to Catholic school, so you get a pass.
Yeah, but like we learned about Tennessee history. But it took me a long time, I think, to be like, oh, there's a Memphis in Egypt. That's cool. And then like even longer to be like, that's why we have the pyramid. Like, it literally took forever. I had to have been in middle school or maybe even high school before I actually put those together.
I mean, that's fair. Like, unless you're one of those kids that's like, remember those books that were like the big coffee table encyclopedias?
I had that.
Yeah, but you didn't have one for Egypt, apparently.
No, I didn't.
See,
I had
that's
animal
the problem.
one. But yes, they're like DK.
Is it DK? That in my mind, I kept seeing like a red DK with like the way the world is or whatever, like how things are made kind of thing, but in a book.
They're like at Costco now.
Yeah, you can get them at Costco at Christmas, guaranteed.
But anyways, we digress. So Memphis has a lot of callbacks to Memphis, Egypt, but it is not at all the same, except that it's hot and it's on a river. So it is, in case you're not exactly sure where we're talking about, obviously it's in the corner of Tennessee, like right on the Mississippi River, and it borders Mississippi and Arkansas, but Arkansas you have to cross the river to go to. And also another funny joke that, you know, you go downtown, and if you miss your downtown exit, you're going to Arkansas.
Yeah, you're crossing the river.
Yep, you're going. There's no way to turn back. Like, you're on the bridge. So don't miss your exit when you go to Memphis. But I love this as an underrated destination for a few reasons. One, everybody always talks about Nashville. Like that was never a thing when I was a kid.
Oh, and now especially Nashville's very popular.
That's what I mean.
A big part of the draw, I think, is music. It's always been, but even I think there's like a resurgence of maybe pop country music.
Yep.
And like it's big for parties, like bachelor parties,
because it's cheap,
parties.
I think.
Yeah, I could see that. So people who are into certain party scene, although, it is cheap, but I don't think it's as cheap as people think anymore.
No.
This is exactly the point.
Yes.
So because Nashville is just blooming because of, honestly, it might be because of TV shows too. I feel like Nashville has had...
Well, it had the TV show Nashville.
The TV show.
Yeah.
But like, pop country singers and everything. It's had...
They live there. And they've always lived there, though. I remember, like, we went to Nashville all the time as kids, and, like, we'd be like, oh, there's that country singer's house. There's that country singer's house.
It goes back to the Grand Ole Opry. I just think that recently there's, like, another boom in tourism there.
Yeah, it's called Bachelor and Bachelor Party. It's kind of what you were saying. Honestly, they're overrun with them. And as much as, like, trendy Nashville is cool, I guess, I've honestly never loved the city of Nashville. I went there as a kid, but I just find it kind of boring.
I mean, to be fair, Shelley is biased. She's from Memphis.
Of course.
It's kind of like East and West, like red and blue, Nashville and Memphis. But I can say from a more objective, third party.
You better speak right now.
I will speak right. Don't worry. I will speak right by you. I never went past like Pennsylvania or Virginia until I met Shelley. So I got to experience more of southern United States. And I've been to Memphis plenty of times over the 10 years. And I've been to Nashville too. Both have really cool things. I really think the thing about Memphis is that there's so much there to explore and see culturally, historically, even and in the last 10 years as a city, it's developed so much that I would put it on my list. If you're thinking like, man, I'd really love to go to New Orleans or I'd love to go to LA or whatever, I would definitely add Memphis on that like United States where you got to experience something, because you're going to experience the South. You're going to see the birthplace of like blues and rock and roll.
The birthplace of rock and roll, home of the blues.
There you go. Birthplace, rock and roll, home of the blues. So like really the cradle of like American music, in my opinion, is the Memphis.
The Delta blues.
The Delta.
Right. So that also goes into Mississippi a bit. So if you're a huge like blues fan, it would be cool also to like base in Memphis and then like drive down to like Clarksdale, Mississippi, and they have like a blues trail. But you can easily do that from both. But you definitely would want to base in Memphis. There's not much going on in Mississippi.
Yeah, that's the only thing is like, once you're in Memphis, it's going to be a while before you get
anywhere else except Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville's 3 hours, right?
Yeah. So speaking of that, like most towns in the South, except maybe New Orleans, you want a car. Like, it's not a walkable city.
Yeah, so that's right off the bat. How you get there, most people are going to fly. There's the airport, but you're going to need to rent a car.
Yeah.
It's not really walkable. I mean, people who go into Memphis to stay at, like, see a convention or something might be able to walk onto Beale Street, but even that, it's not really that kind of place.
No,
it's car
not.
For sure. It's big, spread out, flat, wide, long streets.
Yeah. And honestly, well, we can get into this later, but I probably would like recommend basing myself in Midtown rather than downtown. But we can go into that when we talk about the neighborhoods.
Let's break it down, because we were going to say, when should you go? What are some top things to do? We were going to break down some of our favorite foods and then share some hidden gems with you about Memphis.
Yeah, the food is the best part. You got to stick around for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 90% of this episode is just going to be the food you eat in Memphis. But
so when to go, I can tell you from experience, shoulder seasons are going to be the best here, but that's only because it's real hot in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Going in the winter, honestly, is fine, too. It's a little gloomy.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's kind of dingy because there's not really any snow, so you don't get
There's no snow, really.
Yeah.
And not to speak of. So you're not going to get, like, snowed in, but it just feels like it's kind of cold. And
it's darker. It's not a bad time. I mean, I've gone in the winter, but I think Memphis in spring and fall.
Honestly, spring is the best.
Spring is probably top.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
I actually miss Memphis in the spring. New England doesn't have quite the spring I'm used to. It is, like, perfect, like, 75-degree weather. Perfect to sit on a patio outside.
75 degrees is hot.
I know.
Listen.
It's hot to you, but in Memphis, like, it's the one time where, like, the bugs haven't woken up yet.
That's true. It's not really, like, the
so
humid.
Nice.
It's not humid. It's not buggy.
I'm talking, like, March.
Yeah.
In case you're like, when in spring. March to me is like the best month in Memphis. Although speaking of that, it does rain a lot in Memphis, and especially in May. There is a Memphis in May festival, which is like part of what we were going to talk about too. Memphis,
so like there's some certain times to go that we think are best, but there's also like festivals and bigger events that happen in Memphis.
Yeah.
So if you find you have the time,
these might be good to like anchor around.
Right.
Yeah.
So Memphis in May.
So Memphis in May is a music festival, and then the next weekend, usually it's right after, is the barbecue festival. Obviously, Memphis is known for its barbecue. It's like a sweet barbecue, in case you're curious what our style is. It's like pork.
Yeah, definitely pork shoulder, like pulled pork and sweeter kind of sauce.
Yeah, it's usually
supreme.
it's like tomatoey sweet sauce, and then
Brown
dry
sugar
rubbed ribs.
Yes,
is kind of the thing about Memphis, but. Memphis in May is always dubbed like Memphis in mud because it always rains. And I'm not talking like a little rain, I'm talking like downpours. So do keep in mind that if you're going, obviously watch the weather. It's not like Florida where it will like randomly rain.
And then stop and
right,
be sunny.
Like it rains every single day in the afternoon in the summer. It's not like that. So like you could watch the weather and probably predict pretty well. But just be ready for it to be pretty rainy in the best season, which is spring. There's also maybe the best reason to go to Memphis if you're an Elvis fan, which is Elvis Week. Which is Elvis,
that's in August, right?
Yes.
So it's gonna be
Elvis
hot. Oh man.
Death Week. So I'm not I'm not sure why that's like the one we celebrate. But
yeah, as opposed to like, I don't know, birthday.
first record. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of honoring him
right
at that time.
It is a huge event.
It is huge.
When I was a kid, I used to work it because my family owned an Elvis souvenir shop, because that's how Memphis I am. And it was right across the street from Graceland. And we'd have people from all around the world. Like hundreds and hundreds of Elvises of every single nationality, girls, boys, every Elvis. Which is a really fun event if you're into, Elvis and his music, or you just want to see
or
a really.
Spectacles. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
like
just want to see like one of those events. It's almost like the Santa. What is it? Santa Con.
Is it like a conference of Santas?
Yeah, you remember there's like a Netflix documentary on it.
Yes, there is.
So
About
it's something.
mall Santas?
Yeah, it's like that, where it's just like almost like a sight to behold in itself, even if you're on the outskirts of it.
Yes. A spectator event.
Yeah. So like even if you aren't super into Elvis, but you're like, this feels like it would be cool, it is. It's like really fun. And Bruce has never been.
No, that's one thing we've not made it for. So
because we work in schools.
That's true. It's tough to go because it's kind of
like at the end of August, I believe.
So what any other important times a year if people are thinking of going?
So if you go in the summer, a lot of times the Levitt Shell, which is like in Midtown, has like free concerts and things. So that's
historic too. Right?
Yeah,
there's been some big acts that have played the Shell, and
for
it's
sure.
free, right?
Yeah,
you just have to go to the park. There might be ticketed.
There are definitely ticketed events there.
Maybe for seats, but like if you're in the park, you can just kind of be there, right?
Yeah, well, it's Overton Park, so it's like
not
a federal park, but it's just like a city park, you know. And it has its own really cool story, which I can't. If I get on every tangent that comes to my mind about Memphis, this episode will be like 3 hours long.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be like falling asleep while Shelly regales you with
like
stories
Memphis
of
history.
Past.
Yeah. So I won't do that, but it is a cool event. Those are probably the main events in Memphis. There are a few other Memphis in May events that are cool, like around that time. So if you were going to be like weekend to weekend in May, in any weekend in May,
concerts. And
that's what I mean. Is like, well, there is a music festival that actually brings in like
and the barbecue.
Pretty big acts. The barbecue festival. There's also like the international festival because they always have like.
A theme.
A theme, and there's like a dinner.
So I mean,
so there's
takeaway is springtime's probably great. Be careful of summer; it's super hot and humid. All right, what are some top things to do? I think we're gonna go over some of the big ones and save some of our like hidden gems later.
Yeah, it's essentially just trying to convince you to go to Memphis. So here's all the best reasons why. So if you've heard anything about Memphis, it's probably about Elvis or about Beale Street. Or Martin Luther King, right? Those are kind of the reasons people see it. The pictures
you see are like the bridge, the pyramid, and Beale Street with BB King.
Yeah.
Like you see the neon sign.
Yeah, and that's a fun street, kind of like Bourbon Street, but not nearly as big.
Yep.
So it's one of those, for me, one and done. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
don't
going to
get
go check it
trapped.
out.
I think the saddest thing I hear is if someone happens to go to Memphis and they only go to Beale Street and they stay in like the main downtown, they've missed so much of what I love about Memphis.
So much of like the soul.
Yeah.
Memphis is known for like the soul and the grit of the city. And I think downtown, you can kind of stay away from that, and it's such a disservice to the city because it does have like a pretty strong identity, almost like New Orleans, you know, has a very strong identity like as a city. And I think you really miss it if you just stay downtown. But Beale Street is a thing that you should go to because it's fun and it's kind of iconic. It also has like one of the top 5 zoos in the country that I worked at. See, this is my little like, I have to. I was a zookeeper once.
Well, Memphis is really cool. I mean,
It
so
does
much
have some
so
cool
that
stuff.
we've gone
I've done some cool
almost
stuff
every
there.
time. Yeah, you
That's-
caught that bird. Oh, you held the bald eagle on 4th of July.
This is what I mean. I
That's
got some
right.
cool
There's too many
zookeeper
stories.
stories. Yeah,
Anyway,
but
the
the
zoo's
zoo is amazing. Overton Park, we just talked about, has a Levitt shell, but in itself, Overton Park is really pretty. I used to go to like picnics in college at Overton Park quite a bit. And it's right next to the zoo. Like you can park. Actually, pro tip: you can park at Overton
don't
Park.
pay for
and
parking
then
at the zoo.
Walk to the zoo.
Walk to the zoo.
Because it's literally like you will park and then go over a little half wood fence, like just step over it, and you're in the parking lot of the zoo. Like it's not like you really have to walk far. Cooper Young in Midtown, and Cooper and Young, and then Overton Square are probably my favorite parts of Memphis. So this is the Midtown area, and it's just like the art scene. So it's very artsy, especially in some parts of Midtown.
Yeah, you've got Playhouse, which is a theater.
Playhouse on the Square.
And then
Yep.
Theater Memphis is
in
a little
East
out of
Memphis. Yeah, it's a little further away, but if you're a theater person, honestly, the caliber of Memphis theater, and this is not just me as a theater person coming from Memphis, I have now seen shows all over the country, and I've seen lots and lots of Broadway shows, lots and lots of national tours, and I can tell you, like, Theater Memphis has legitimately good theater.
Yeah,
not Theater Memphis,
I agree.
all of them. Theater Memphis too, but like Playhouse and Square, Theater Memphis, Hattie Lou, there are so many theaters. So
so don't sleep on, like, if you get to the city and you see what's playing, I would highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, and it's usually not, I think Playhouse just put out a thing where like their tickets are always $25. So it's not even
You're not breaking the bank, and you're
Right.
going to see awesome productions.
Like I was in performances in Memphis with people who are on Broadway right now.
Oh, 100%.
And also on national tours, like lots of them. So high caliber of theater. And of course, we can't mention the arts and theater without mentioning music, because obviously Memphis is such a big music destination.
Right.
Any type of live band you're going to see is also usually just top notch.
Oh, yeah. Actually, so speaking of Beale Street, to go back there really quick, because there's always live music there.
Right.
I actually think it's really fun to go there before it's super late night, because it can get pretty... I mean, if you want, like, crazy party time and, like, cheap booze, you can go Beale Street.
I don't know that I would go at night.
This
This is the problem with Memphis, is we're like, oh, it's amazing, amazing, amazing. But you do have to consider that Memphis has quite the crime rate. So you do want to kind of stay
within the lines, so to speak.
Yeah, like, I don't know that I would party at night in downtown Memphis. Like, it's just not... It's not like you couldn't. People do it every day.
Yeah.
It's just... It wouldn't be my thing. Like, I would just feel a little nervous, and then I'd have to get home. You have to drive.
Right.
I'd rather be staying in Midtown at, like... there's a Marriott down there.
And there's that new hotel that's in Overton Square.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a Marriott.
Oh, that's the Marriott? Yeah, it's cool.
It's called the Memphian. That is where I would
the
stay.
Memphian.
It's like $200 a night, and it is like
Worth
the nicest hotel.
It's awesome. It's like a boutique hotel.
It's beautiful.
But my point is, like, yeah, I mean, there is... I would not stay away from Memphis if you think it's this crime-ridden city. But you need to know how to be safe.
Yeah, so my point of this was that I wouldn't necessarily party downtown at night, but I would stay at the Memphian, which is right on Overton Square, and there's tons of bars there. Like Lafayette's Music Room, that's a huge music bar.
Music all the time there.
That's what I mean. There's the local there. There's
so many
Bosco.
options.
There's just tons of bars and food.
Beyond Beale Street. That's why I was saying, like, we've gone to Beale Street in the afternoon.
That's the best time.
Yeah, because it's not super
it's like
crowded.
3 p.m.
You can hear
no one's there.
A lot of the same standing bands are there.
Yep.
And
you sit outside and have like a beer.
You can go to A Schwab. I don't know if we mentioned that. It's like an old... What would you call A Schwab? A general store pharmacy? It's been around since
that was a thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. They have a soda fountain that's like legit. So definitely check it out. I would go not at night.
Yeah, I would go during the day. Oh, it's not because you can't go at night. Well, Schwab you can't because it closes. But I think the like hanging out is a better vibe in Midtown.
Yeah, I think 100%.
Yeah. So moving on, there is a university there. There's a university area which has some also cool bars. Has Brother Juniper's, which is
that was a hidden gem. You gave one away.
Oh, you got a little sneak peek.
You got ahead of us, so that's okay.
Little
The
sneak
biscuits
peek of
Brother Juniper's are the top in the world.
Brother Juniper's is like the number one breakfast place in Memphis.
I don't think I had biscuits in my life, like real ones, until Shelley brought me to the South and bestowed me with Brother Juniper's biscuits and like
it is a
jams.
Serious hidden gem. Like people will be just like waiting outside this little house.
Yep.
And it's worth it.
It is.
So that's the university area. Mostly just bars and restaurants. Again, not really walkable. So it's okay if you like had one in mind over there, but at like Brother Juniper's, but I wouldn't necessarily stay over there. And then FedEx Forum is our concert venue. So there's lots of big concerts that come through Memphis. Obviously, another reason. The Memphis Grizzlies play there. Every once in a while, they're really good. So that would be, if you want to catch a basketball. Nashville stole our football team, so you do have to go to Nashville to see professional football. Unless you want to see college football, in which case you can come see the University of Memphis. But those are kind of like the reasons you check out the FedEx Forum or Liberty Bowl.
Don't forget the going into history and culture. Got to mention the Civil Rights Museum.
Oh yeah,
so that's huge.
We don't have that anymore.
Oh yeah, I wrote it.
Okay, I was gonna say you gotta talk. I'm actually like in the midst of writing an article, and you can see, listening to this podcast, how like all over the place it is right now on why it's so hard for me to write an article about what you should see in Memphis, because my answer is kind of like all of it. And so I'm really trying to pare it down, but really Memphis, you can kind of break into like 3 trips. You can go kind of like more cosmopolitan. You can stay in the downtown. You go to the Peabody, watch the Peabody Ducks like parade. You can stay at the Memphium and go have like cocktails on the roof. Like you can be very like cosmopolitan about it. Or you can go very like history, Civil Rights Museum, Stax Museum. Like there's a lot of really rich history in Memphis. There's like it used to be called the Pink Palace. Now they call it like Memphis Museum of History or something. It's
where the Piggly Wiggly
the first
mansion.
So the Piggly Wiggly is like invented in Memphis, and the guy who invented it made this mansion and then went bankrupt, and so this museum took it over, and so like that's very cool. They have like a replica of the first cool. Piggly Wiggly.
If you don't know, it's pretty much they invented the concept of like shopping with a cart and going down aisles and then going through like a cash register area where you're like impulse buying stuff. It's cool.
So you can do that in the museum, which is pretty cool. But there's just like a lot of history. And then with that, there's also like ghost tours and things. The city has.
Don't forget about Sun Studio too. There's too many to list.
That would be the music side.
So
then you can go straight.
It's history too.
Yeah, I know. You can go straight music. Like Bruce was like holding on to Elvis's microphone he used, the $1 Million Quartet. At Sun Studio, you can like see all the records on the wall. So many famous artists came through there. Again, you could visit Stax Museum. Graceland is a sight to behold. So there's so many other music options that you could use.
Yeah, so like it for so many different people that like different things, you could find it in Memphis.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess it's one of those reasons where it's like, if it wasn't on your radar and you're someone who has any of these interests, I hope it is now, because it's so worth it.
Absolutely. And then, just because we mentioned it before, which maybe this should also be a hidden gem, but I'm sure you saw Memphis in the news a few years ago when they used that pyramid that we talked about and made it into a Bass Pro Shop. And honestly, it's also a sight to behold.
It is a spectacle.
It is a spectacle.
That's the word for it.
It's worth going there just to see the monstrosity that is this giant Bass Pro Shop sign on a pyramid in the middle of the United States.
Yep.
On a river.
America.
Like, it's wild. It's worth a trip.
I think that wraps up our top things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to. People can't be here forever with us.
No, we got to get into food, too, anyway.
Oh, the food is the best.
We've got to talk about, obviously, barbecue. So, Shelly and I have had... I think we've had the run of it for the most part.
I think we've had... Oh, the only one we're missing is Kansas City, I think. I think we've had all the other, like,
you
big...
mean in the, our exploration?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And I think we've had the run of it in Memphis, too.
Oh, yeah, we've eaten lots of barbecue.
I mean, I got to say, I think what Memphis does best is pulled pork, and
pulled pork sandwiches,
ribs.
honestly, is the
Probably
way, in my opinion, is a way to go in Memphis. I've never had a better pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah, that's what
don't tell my family, but I have had just as good ribs, and they don't really do brisket. Like, that's not a thing to get there.
Texas.
Yeah.
It's different. Yep.
Bruce made that mistake the first time. He got brisket, and he was like, this is, like, not great. And I was like, oh, yeah, you got the wrong thing, which that's my bad. I really should have told you. But
see, I didn't have this podcast to listen to. How was I to know?
Then I've had, like, I really love baked chicken, like barbecue chicken. And that's not really a thing in Memphis either.
No, it's not as big.
Yeah, it's really all about the pulled pork.
It is. The pig, man.
Yeah. So there's so much. Speaking of the pig, there is an actual restaurant called The Pig.
That one's actually, so you'd think on Beale Street you might get into, like, it feels a bit tourist trappy sometimes, but The Pig has an awesome pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah.
That might be one of my favorites. It's huge, too.
Really good. The commissary is far. So
yeah, if you're visiting Memphis, commissary's in Germantown, which is a really, like, wealthy
it's like a suburb
district, but it's not really, like, close to what you would normally do as a tourist.
No, it is like a local's favorite.
It is good.
People go.
You know, if you have the time and you're there for a while, like a week or whatever, I would venture out, check it out.
Yeah, I mean, you could feed a family of 4 on, like, one platter. They're giant. The barbecue shop is kind of in between downtown and midtown. That's a really good one for ribs.
I like their ribs for sure.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway.
And then Central Barbecue is like a college-y hangout, but again, a local favorite. It's one of those, almost like a Panera, where you, like, go and order and then they bring it to you. So it's like a half sit down, half
And there's
not.
like 3 or 4 of them in Memphis, right?
Oh yeah,
there's a few locations.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
I like their barbecue salad.
Me too.
That's top.
Me too. And honestly, if you feel a little heavy, because Memphis food is not known for being light and delicate, barbecue salad to me is always the way to go, because you get all the things you like.
I agree.
It's not as heavy. We didn't even say our favorite. Was it a hidden gem?
Tops. No, that's not a hidden gem. Wait, are you talking about Tops or someone else?
No, Tops, obviously.
Okay, so Tops is like the fast food version.
It's literally a fast food restaurant. Yeah, you can go through a drive-thru.
And it's so cheap.
So, yeah.
But, like, man, you know, you guys come at me. I think Tops is the gem of Memphis. Like, I wish we could open up a franchise of Tops in every city in the country.
Yeah, and Tops burgers are good too, but I honestly just can never get away from the barbecue.
I just think, like, you get chopped, mixed pork, you know, because you can
like
get
$4 for a sandwich.
That's what I'm saying. It's so like cheap. 3-something. I don't know. Tops is great. It's cheap. It's easy. It's everywhere.
And if you have a big family, or you're thinking of coming with, like, a bachelorette party, you can so easily get, like, catered meals, quote unquote, and feed 10 people for like $30. Mm-hmm. It's like so cheap. We used to do that for Christmas parties.
All right, what are some other shout outs? We got to talk about donuts. Ooh, Gibson Donuts. This is Alton Brown's favorite donut.
I was about to say that.
Best glaze in the world. Yeah. To be honest, they are probably some of the best donuts I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, this is a Bruce thing because I'm not a sweets person.
Hey, but you like their maple bacon ones.
I do love their maple bacon. And my friend, who is a sweets person, is obsessed with red velvet. So much so that if we go and they have one, I always pick one up for her because I'm like, they go so fast.
Gus's, or not Gus's, that's French. I'm reading the list. Gibson. The Gibson donut. Is that 24/7 too? Yeah, they're always open.
They're so good. Next door is Gus's fried chicken.
Right. So... Man, okay, listen. First time I went to Gus's, I'm pretty sure they used, like, white Wonder Bread as, like, a base to soak up the grease.
They absolutely do. It's a real thing.
All I'm saying is, like, go there, explore it, but, oh, God. Like, I can't eat more than one a lifetime. I think of Gus's fried chicken.
Yeah.
It's classic, though.
It's classic. It's like world famous, what it says.
Apparently so.
You can also, if you're sad, you're gonna miss the Nashville hot chicken because you're not going to Nashville. Hattie's, which is like the one, is also, there's a chain of it in Memphis.
There's a Hattie's.
So you can still get your Nashville hot chicken. The Cupboard is actually owned by a friend of my dad's, but it is a like famous restaurant in Memphis.
I actually think this would come up as a hidden gem for us because I don't know that anyone would know to go to the Cupboard unless they knew something about it. But
you're not stumbling upon it. It's like across from the hospital.
Yeah, it's
kind of like close to Midtown. It's like in, again, that downtown, Midtown, middle.
So you'd have to be driving and come upon it.
Yeah, but I don't know why you would necessarily
stop.
Yeah, right.
But I gotta say, like, every time we go to Memphis, Shelly's like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? First thing I always tell her is we have to go to the Cupboard. Yeah. It's the best food. It's like if you want a southern home-cooked, home-style meal.
Which, by the way, if you're not from the South, because Bruce was like, I don't know what you're saying to me right now when I said this, it is a meat and 3 place. So what that means is you have a meat and 3 sides. And that is how they serve food. Like, you pick what your meat is and your 3 sides. Like, that's the whole menu. It's just which, like, mains do they have and which sides do they have. And all you decide is how many meats do you want and how many sides do you want.
It's so
and
good,
that's
man.
it.
And it's like the employees, I feel like you could tell they like working there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
all their food is fresh.
Yep.
It's like none of it...
They're kind. It's
like
simple.
Not healthy necessarily, but it is like not made with like...
I would say it's...
I was going to say...
think it's unhealthy at all. Like, I think some of these other places you can chow down is definitely greasier, heavier food.
They say something about it. Like, it's not made with like trans fat or something. Like, they do like specifically say like, you know, we're not just like melting spinach into lard. Like, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
Like, they do a good job.
It's good. I've always felt good after a meal. Like it's like home cooked.
Right. And their menu rotates. So you can see what it's going to rotate to, but it's not a like set menu. They cook like it's literally like Thursday special is
every day.
Yeah.
So 100% go to the cupboard.
Yeah, especially if you want good Southern food. Muddy's has gone back and forth a little bit because now it's like a little bit more of cupcakes. By the way, it's like not like it used to be, because it used to be like a real cupcake shop, and they closed that one down during COVID, and now it's on Broad Street, which is another like cute little like strip that you could go to.
Memphis keeps kind of rebuilding certain areas. Like Broad Street was not the nicest, and now there's like it's beyond not the nicest.
Yeah,
like, you don't go down Broad Street.
No,
but now I mean, there's a lot of cool businesses there and startups and restaurants and things, and Muddy's opened up there, but
yeah, I mean I think they have the best icing of any cupcake I've ever had.
I agree.
It's just that their selections are a little limited right now. And then the other place we didn't talk about was the concourse, the Crosstown concourse.
Oh, this used to be a Sears
Roebuck.
Sears Roebuck. Yeah, it was it was a factory and warehouse.
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure
huge.
It's like when people ordered Sears from a magazine.
So that
it was
like the
that.
distribution.
Yeah.
I mean, this place is massive.
Massive. They literally, you can live in it.
Yep,
and they have like a full, like they have a doctor's office, community health centers.
It's like an all-in-one.
They have a school, I believe. They have a theater. I mean, it's massive. But they also do have some pretty cool things. Like they always have an art exhibit.
There's a brewery. There's art exhibits. There's food.
There's that pinball bar.
Yeah, you could spend a whole afternoon just checking out the concourse.
Yeah, it's a cool little spot. So those we forgot to mention, which is Broad Street and then the concourse. But going back to food, you know, we're talking about like, I guess what Memphis is known for in those ways, but there is like nice kind of food choices. Like Hog and Hominy is a really big one.
Yeah, we kind of listed a lot of comfort soul food kind of stuff in barbecue.
But there's definitely people like pushing.
Oh, for sure.
Like pushing the envelope. It's a big city.
This is just the tip of the iceberg right now.
Like, I cannot. You know what I just realized? I'm actually kind of mad at you.
What?
You left off Huey's.
Listen.
It is everyone's favorite. You have to. Maybe you have to be there. Like,
okay, listen. You can go to Huey's.
You must go to Huey's.
It's good. It's good.
It's a bar. Like, I mean, it's a burger place.
I'm trying to. What can I compare it to? It's like what TGI Fridays wishes it could be. It's like a.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe you compared Huey's to a TGI Fridays.
As I said it, I saw your face just ashamed and disappointed.
It's the first place I took you in Memphis.
Yes,
I love Huey's.
No, it's good.
Honestly, it might be my favorite.
It's not expensive.
No, it's not.
It's like primary is their burgers, right? But they've got other things that are really good too.
They do. But you like write on the walls and you put toothpicks in the ceiling. It's like that kind of place. So definitely not fancy. So good though. Another kind of place that is like a local favorite, Soulfish Cafe. So obviously Memphis on the river, so we don't have seafood as much as we have catfish, right?
Soulfish.
Yeah, like so that is kind of our area of the seafood world. I say that in quotes so you can't see. And you know, Catherine and Mary's like an upscale. There's Flight where you can get like little flights of food, drinks, and dessert, which is a kind of fun concept. So there's just so much food in Memphis. It's hard to really pinpoint, and now I'm like nervous that you forgot another like really good.
You know, I'm sure we did, but there's going to be articles coming. We're going to post. I'm sure.
Just like for the updates to my 15. I did send out my email this week, or I guess this would be like last week, the one in between these two episodes. I mentioned.
All right,
that
when this comes out, it would have been last week.
Yeah. And so I put like the Choose 901, which is like the Memphis tourism site. I put their like bucket list of Memphis food items, and you'll see every single one that we just mentioned on there. But there's 75. So you will not run out of food in Memphis, I promise.
No way.
All right,
well, we talked about where to stay. I think Shelly's recommendation's great. Thinking about Midtown, thinking about that Marriott that they opened up. I don't know about Airbnb situation anymore. I know that it might I'd be cautious because you don't want to end up taking a place in an area that is not the nicest.
Yeah, you just want to feel comfortable. You know, you're in a city you don't know. I might stick to hotels. You could stay by the university. That's, you know, you'd have that university strip. You could easily drive to Midtown. It's not that far. Honestly, if I were staying in Memphis, I'd be staying at the Memphian.
Yeah, honestly, I think if you,
like, that's 100%. Just where I would stay. Because you're in the middle of the action. It's a beautiful hotel. It's not that expensive.
No, that's like a perfect spot to stay.
You can use Marriott points on it. Like,
definitely.
That's probably where I would stay. If you're really looking for something cheap, there is a hostel that I believe is run out of the Congregational Church. It's also down the street. So that's, again, in this, like, Cooper Young Midtown area. And that's, like, right next to where my brother lives. So, like, you can definitely walk that little area. There's lots of restaurants and bars there. And they also rent out bikes, I believe. So that could be a cool way to explore Midtown because it's, like, literally, like, maybe a mile long.
Definitely.
But yeah, and then some more hidden gems that we haven't.
We kind of gave some away.
I'm sorry, I get very excited.
Okay, there's one on here that we didn't say. So we did mention Broad Street as a place that has very recently become, you know, safe, like a place you could kind of go. Yeah. But for a long time, that pirate themed bar, the Cove.
I love the Cove.
Has been there, and that is a off the beaten path. If you don't know, you wouldn't necessarily find it going, but I love that bar.
Yeah, and it's right next to Muddy. So if you like wanted to go get, there's also a really nice coffee shop down there.
There's a few places there. And an ice cream place, like.
Oh yeah, the ice cream place.
And who knows? Like, you know, it's ever changing too. So I don't know.
There's also like. Is Memphis Pizza Cafe down there too? That's another like.
There's a pizza place, and then there's the.
What might be Broad Street Pizza?
The brewery. Yes. What's it called? Which one is it? It's not Wiseacre.
Yeah.
Is it?
Think so.
That's the good one. Is that the one that does gotta get up to get down?
That's my favorite.
I think that's the one that's on Broad Street. So you could spend some time there too. Really cool spot.
It is a cool spot, and you can order food there, which is like just kind of a fun. You know, I like when you can do that. Yeah, it is on Broad. So. What
are some other gems? We used to talk about Brother Juniper's for breakfast.
Yeah, Rail Garden.
Rail Garden's cool, especially if you have a really big party.
I was going to say, like, if you are going to do a bachelorette party, Rail Garden is a cool spot to base because it's like a big outdoor kind of thing. So there's like a lot of different and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like cornhole and stuff, but there's a lot of different gathering spaces.
Yeah.
It's really cool. There's also by that concourse, the old Sears Roebuck place, there's a pinball bar. Machine. Yeah, that place is really cool.
It is fun. People always leave. They don't know that they have another play. So you can just go around and, like, pull the thing, and there's, like, always...
Don't tell them our secret. Yeah, people forget there's, like...
But, yeah, then there's, like, Otherland's Coffee Bars also kind of in that between, like, Cooper Young and Overton Square, all in that Midtown area.
That's a great place to hang out. So if you're looking to, like, get some Wi-Fi and chill... out of your hotel, go to Otherland's for sure.
Yeah. Honestly, Memphis is just an overall very cool domestic trip spot. And I honestly would pick it over Nashville any day. And hopefully you would too after all of these things. It just has such, like, I hate to use this. You can tell I've been with my middle schoolers too much, but it's a vibe. Like
it's a mood.
Yeah, like it has a vibe, and I just feel like, yes, it's a little gritty, and it definitely has some history to it, but I think that makes it just a cool city in general. Again, it really, like, to me, is like a New Orleans. You know what I mean? But, like, everyone knows a New Orleans. Everyone goes, and it's one of my favorite cities in the world, but Memphis is honestly up there.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool place to visit.
Definitely think underrated and check it out for sure. Totally worth it.
So hopefully we've convinced you to go to Memphis next year.
Yeah, and hey, let us know if you have an underrated destination that you know about. Definitely, you can find us in the show links. Join the Facebook group.
Yeah, we actually just like the best list of like places people had gone.
Yeah,
and I was
gonna say,
all of these were just on my like top list. Now I get to talk to all these people about their recommendations. It's the best.
Yeah, so join the Facebook group.
Join the newsletter because I had my little teaser. You could have gotten the bucket list of Memphis food last week.
And everybody who's been listening so far, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Let us know. Give us your feedback. We've got some episodes planned to kind of wrap up the year.
Yeah.
But if there's something you want to hear more of, let us know.
Yeah. We'll see you later.
All right. See ya.
Did you know that every time you book a Disney or Universal vacation, you're paying for a service that you may not even be using?
Really?
That's right. Travel agent costs are added to your Disney or Universal vacation, whether you use one or not.
So you're telling me that I'm paying for something even though I'm not getting the help?
You got it. So next time you want to book a theme park vacation, make your money work for you. By booking with Magic Pass Travel, you'll get our expertise and years of experience without paying any extra and while supporting a small business.
Check out our show notes to find our contact information.
Can't wait to help you plan your next adventure.